guys, welcome to part 2 to my EDH Obzedat deck tech video. This video will go over my creatures. I think they're about like 22 or 23, so not a whole lot of creatures, but they all do something. First off, we have a Vampire Nighthawk. He's just a solid creature. He's not very big, but Death Touch, Flying, and Lifelink, pretty fun. Then I have an Agent of Masks. At the beginning of my upkeep, each opponent loses 1 life, and I gain life equal to the life lost this way. So, again, pretty fun. Great in multiplayer, not as great in one-on-one. Then I have a Souls of the Faultless, which is a defender that whenever it is dealt damage, it drains life from the attacker and gives it unto me. So, pretty fun. And then I have a Kingpin's Pet, which is kind of a filler card and is really only in here right now because of the Extort ability, so that each time I cast a spell, I can pay an extra white or black, and each opponent loses 1 life and I gain 1 life. I would prefer to have like a better Extort card, like I think Cryptghast maybe has Extort and Blind Obedience, but those are kind of expensive. Vizkopa Guildmage, giving lifelink to creatures that don't have it already, and that ability becomes irrelevant if I have a Vault of the Archangel out. Mostly the Guildmage is in here for the second ability, which is whenever I gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life, and yeah, it combos well with some things, which we will talk about in part 3. Suture Priest, a very weak creature. However, I like the passive ability of whenever another creature enters the battlefield under my control, I may gain 1 life, and whenever another creature or a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, that player loses 1 life. This card is also kind of a filler creature, but it goes really well with the whole life gain drain thing that I have going on. And, yeah, so, I mean, it's small and it's easy to get rid of, but I have ways of getting it back out. Then I have Blood Artist, my BFF, as many of you who watch all of my videos know. Love this guy. Whenever he or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and I gain 1 life. And he goes really nicely with the token sub-theme that this deck has, because they're cannon fodder or sacrifice fodder. And yeah, Falkenrath Noble in here because he does the same thing as Blood Artist, and it's nice to have some consistency, especially because Blood Artist and like this ability is really, really good in this deck. So, plus Falkenrath Noble is like an actual creature. 2/2 flyer, whereas Blood Artist is just like a thing that annoys people. Dark Imposter seems like it would be fun in EDH, especially. Pay 6 to exile a target creature and put a +1/+1 counter on the Dark Imposter, and it has all activated abilities of all creatures exiled with it. So that could be super fun. Desecration Demon is here. Does not really go with the life gain or drain theme, but I just like this card a lot. So, and if I get it out early enough, people might sacrifice stuff to stop me from attacking with him. So he can be control-y in early game. Necropolis Regent is in here. She goes really nicely with the Rogue's Passage, because her passive ability is whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. It's crazy awesome if you use a Rogue Passage on your general and you have this card out, and then your general becomes like a 10/10 or like a 20/20. Then we have Sheoldred, the Whispering One, who would go quite nicely if I had an Urborg Tomb of Yahlababa in the deck, but I don't. But she has Swamp Walk, so could be useful. But mostly she's in here because at the beginning of my upkeep, I can return a target creature card from my graveyard to the battlefield, and at the end of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. And that can also provide yummies for the Blood Artist and Falkenrath Noble. And then I thought about putting a Rhea Dawnbringer in here because she has that same ability of returning a card from my graveyard to the battlefield, but I can't decide if I want to do that or not. Let me know what you think. Then I have a Bloodgift Demon in here. At the beginning of my upkeep, target player draws a card and loses 1 life. Clearly I choose myself. The Chaos Lunarch is mostly in here to buff all of my weak little critters. So I can tap him to put a +1/+1 counter, or to remove a counter on him and put a counter on each other creature I control. Avacyn's in here because why not? She's a big badass, and EDH is fond of the big badasses. She's also crazy awesome if I put lifelink and death touch on her with Vault of the Archangel. Then I have Odric Master Tactician, who is also a badass. And, yeah, you know, first strike, pretty awesome. Mostly, what makes him so badass is that whenever he and at least 3 other creatures attack, I choose which creatures block this combat and how they block. And I can choose that no one blocks. Mwahaha. Then I have a Reaper from the Abyss, which is another kind of filler creature until I can find something that goes a little better in the deck. Flying 6/6 demon for 6. His morbid ability is that at the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, destroy a target non-demon creature, which can be a good trigger, or like a good removal. Unless, of course, something's indestructible or I'm playing against a demon deck. Then we have a Zathrid Gorgon, who has Death Touch, which is, not horrible. But I put her in here for her petrification counters. So you pay 3 mana and tap her, and whatever has a petrification counter on it, you tap it, or it becomes the artifact and defender, and it can't activate its abilities. So that's a temporary removal, and I don't think you can remove counters, so it's pretty douchey. And then she has really good synergy with the Devout Chaplain, which is kind of a weird card, but it was the only one I could think of that was a consistent way to remove artifacts and enchantments, and she exiles them. So I tap her, tap 2 untapped humans I control, exile target artifact or enchantment. And I know artifacts are really important in EDH, and enchantments are harder to get rid of in an EDH, because when you have cards in EDH, you want them to be versatile, and there aren't a whole lot of, cards that destroy enchantments and do other things too. So that's why she's in here, and she goes great with the Zathrid Gorgon. Then for token production, I have a Bloodline Keeper. He poops out 2/2 flying vampire tokens, and then when he flips, he still poops out tokens, but then they're 4/4, because he gives +2/+2 to all other vampires. And there are a few vampires, actual creatures in here, so he's pretty useful. Thraben Doomsayer is also in here to poop out tokens, just for pooping out the 1/1 white creature tokens, which are cannon fodder and or sacrifice fodder. And then, because I have such a ton of creatures that enter the battlefield small, and because card advantage is awesome, I put this guy in here. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under my control, I can pay colorless mana and draw a card. And then Cartel Aristocrat is in here for sacrifice outlet, as a way to ensure that my crap gets sacrificed, especially if I have a Blood Artist or a Falkenrath Noble out. I want those creatures to die, and if somebody that I'm playing against sees what I'm up to and isn't letting my creatures die, isn't killing them or attacking me, this is a good way to trigger various when creature dies abilities. Then I have a Treasury Thrall, which also has Extort, which is nice, in this deck especially. And whenever it attacks, I can return a artifact, creature, or enchantment card from my graveyard to my hand, so that's really, really useful. I think this is a really good card for EDH, if it's terrible in Standard, but I think this is a place where it might do well. I mean, it's kind of expensive, and it's not that big of a creature, but being able to get your crap back is pretty awesome, especially artifacts and enchantments. And that is it for the creatures. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there are better creatures, if you think I should take some out, and what I should replace them with, or, you know, just opinions and advice. So far, I like my creature list, and I think, I mean, it playtests okay. There aren't a whole lot of creatures in, like, I put a lot of spells in this deck, so maybe after watching video 3, you'll have better advice on, like, what should be added and subtracted. But thank you for watching. I hope perhaps that this was interesting, at least, and perhaps maybe inspired you to make a white-black EDH deck, because it's fun. It's, yeah, it's pretty fun. And, yeah, so see you in part 3.